JT from the Radio Lex from the Success Academy, the voice of the people, WLU 93.9 LPFM, Lexington, Kentucky.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of Lexington Community Radio or its board of directors. The views expressed are solely those of the programmers.
You are listening to Off the Cuff. Now, here's your host, Adam Banks.
Welcome everybody to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks coming at you live from Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you for listening to the show and thank you for tuning in to WLXU 93.9 FM. In addition to listening on the radio, you can check out our Facebook live stream at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks, or you can download the show from the station website at radiolex.us. I am broadcasting from the Deborah Hensley Studios here at Radio Lex on North Limestone. It is September the 21st, 2023, 4:01 to be exact. And folks, this is our very last broadcast of the summer. So summer is officially over after this weekend, and we are slap dab into fall. But folks, I start the show off a little frustrated. So if I sound a little frustrated, it's because I am. And I am frustrated because when I opened my mail, I noticed that my mortgage had increased $200. Now, you're probably wondering, didn't you get a fixed rate? Of course I did. But it still went up $200 because apparently there's taxes raised and my home insurance raised. And then they said that I am also paying something into a reserve. I don't know what that means. It's a foreign language to me. So I really have to get these guys to spell it out. Don't you just hate when you don't understand something and the person on the other end of the phone is trying to explain it? And it really doesn't matter exactly what is it. It doesn't really matter what they say. It's all jargon and it all sounds like jargon. So nothing's going to make sense to you. So I'm a little frustrated, and it happened right before I got on the air, of course. And the guy, he was a nice guy, and I can't, the guy that I was talking to on the phone, so I can't blame him. He was just the messenger trying to explain. And, he tried to strike up conversation with me. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Kentucky." He said, "Oh, I've been to Kentucky before. I've been up to Louisville." And I said, "Well, first of all, it's pronounced Louisville, but hey, most people that been to Kentucky have been to Louisville." But that was another thing that just frustrated me, that his pronunciation of the city Louisville, he called it Louisville. And I've noticed a lot of people do that. A lot of people will mispronounce things, and it just drives me crazy to no end. And English, we know, it can be a very silly language. Many of the words that we see in English, it don't even sound like it's spelled. So it's definitely a hard language to learn. So mispronouncing words is a very common thing in the English language. People that have been speaking English their entire life still mispronounce it. Like Louisville, it's pronounced Louisville. And I just can't stand it when I hear that mispronunciation. It's kind of like when people call Appalachia, they call it Appalachian. It's Appalachia. Not with the N, it's Appalachia. So I started thinking about what are some of the most common mispronounced words in the English language. Louisville, I'm going to throw out there as being one of them. There's more. What about tournament? I hate it when I hear people say tournament, like you're tearing something up. It's not tournament, it's tournament. Or some people, when they're describing the Pacific Ocean, they'll call it the Pacific Ocean. Or library is a very mispronounced word. The word library, a lot of people will say library. And it ain't called a library, it's called a library. Ambulance, some people will call it an ambulance instead of ambulance. Literally, some people will say literally. So it's really just laziness, I guess, the dialect that people speak. I don't really understand why it takes so much effort to pronounce things right, but it does. And sometimes people, they train their mind that they're saying the word the right way because they've said it that way their entire life. Like the word anyway. A lot of times when people are, when people say anyway, they'll say anyways with an S, and they'll add an S to it. There's no S to anyway. When you say anyway, some people will say anyways. It doesn't have an S on it. There's so many more. There's February. Some people call it February. Jaguar as Jaguar. Especially is another word. Some people will say especially, spell it with an EX instead of saying especially. Warsh for wash, that's definitely an Eastern Kentucky term. Wreath and wreath, sometimes people will call a wreath a reef with an F. Alzheimer's is a big one. A lot of times people don't know how to say the word Alzheimer's, and I'll give you that one. That's a hard word to say. They'll call it Alzheimer's, but it's not called Alzheimer's. It's called Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's. What about the word ask? I hear a lot of people say the word ask like it's spelled with an X. They'll say, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Illinois. People will say Illinois because it's spelled like that, but it's pronounced Illinois. So it's definitely interesting when you hear people mispronounce words wrong, and it just frustrates me. Or maybe I'm just in a frustrated mood. But living in Eastern Kentucky, you kind of get used to a lot of pronunciations. Growing up, you really have to learn the Eastern Kentucky lingo. There's a lot of things that we say in Eastern Kentucky that won't make no sense to anybody else other than the people that live in Eastern Kentucky. And I'm not hating on Eastern Kentucky. I absolutely love the dialect there, and I love the lingo that's there. And if you put me slap dab in the middle of Eastern Kentucky, I can still speak the lingo just as good as anybody that's been speaking it for 75 years. Like if somebody says, bless your heart, I know that that necessarily doesn't mean a good thing. Oh, bless his little heart. That doesn't necessarily mean they're showing endearment. That's kind of their sarcastic way of saying that they disapprove of what you're doing, or they look at you with disappointment. Bless his heart. Bless his little heart. What about another Eastern Kentucky lingo word is get, spelled G-I-T. And if you don't know what get means in Eastern Kentucky, it means get out of my way or go, just move. Get, spelled G-I-T. But there's a ton. If you hear somebody in Eastern Kentucky say the word fixin', that means that they're about to do something. Like, I'm fixin' to go to the store. What do you need? I'm fixin' to go wash my car. The word plum. The word plum in Eastern Kentucky means completely or entirely. Well, that's plumb stupid, or that's plain, or that's plumb dumb. You know, plum means completely or entirely in Eastern Kentucky. That's what it means. Buggy is another word we use in Eastern Kentucky that we don't really use it anywhere else for the same meaning. So in Eastern Kentucky, buggy means a shopping cart. But anywhere else, a buggy is what is attached to a horse's back. But in Eastern Kentucky, if you say, go get me a buggy, we know to go get you a shopping cart and bring it back to you. Yonder is another Eastern Kentucky term. Point of direction is what yonder means. I'm going down yonder. I used to know a guy, he always was going down yonder. And people ask, where is yonder? Well, yonder is just down yonder. It just means you just got to point in the direction you're going and say yonder, and that pretty much explains it. I'm going down yonder. Like after the show, I'm going to go down yonder. And people in Eastern Kentucky would pick up what I'm laying down. The word holler, believe it or not, is not very popular anywhere else other than the Appalachian Mountains. A holler, if you really have to put a definition on what a holler is, it's just a long valley. Just a long one-way road valley. There's one way in and there's one way out. Reckon is another Eastern Kentucky terminology. I reckon, which pretty much means you suppose. You suppose something is going to happen. Rag. We like to substitute things for words. The word rag means washcloth. I remember growing up, I would always have to go get a towel and a rag before I went to take a shower or a bath. A towel or a rag. Because a rag in Eastern Kentucky means washcloth. And I love it. And I love the fact that I still use those words. And sometimes they come out without even me meaning for it to come out. And people will look at me like I have four heads. And they're like, what are you talking about? What is a rag? Well, a rag is a washcloth. But I always find it endearing when I hear people still using the terminology. Wade says on the show thread, New Orleans is another one. Yes, a lot of people will say New Orleans, but it's New Orleans. Let's see, he's got the word narrow on the show thread. He said it's pronounced nar, or people will say narrow, but it's pronounced narrow. Well, and a lot of the times the accent of Eastern Kentuckians will bleed over into their words. Like they'll say, instead of fire, they'll say far. Or instead of saying tire, they'll say tar. I need 4 new tires on my truck. Or, did you put out that far, buddy? Or are you going to set you a far? And I love that. And I love it when I hear it, and I don't hear it enough. But folks, we have a great show, regardless of my mood ahead. We have a special guest coming on the show, Vinyl Richie. That's not one person, that is a band, and they will be on in the last segment of the show around the 4:40 mark. So you podcast listeners listening at home later this evening, just know on the 4th segment they will be on. It's an 8-member band, and all 7 there's only going to be 7 in the studio, but they're all going to be here around the 4:40 mark of the show, the 4th segment, and they're a cover band where they cover all different types of genre of music. And it's 80s, 90s cover music. It's cool. They got a lot of good talent, got a lot of good songs, and they're performing this weekend at the Borough. And we're going to talk about all of that in their interview. But folks, we have a great show ahead of you. Stick with us. You are listening to Off the Cuff with Adam Banks right here on WLXU 93.9 FM.
Hi, I'm Michaelle, the host of Dick and Fabulous, and you are listening to Radio Lex, the voice of the people. WLXU 93.9 LPFM Lexington.
Radio Lex has the support of vinyl sponsor Vanessa Wells Gray. Thank you.
제 건강을 신경 쓰는 게 항상 쉬운 건 아닙니다. 가족을 위해 일하고 커뮤니티를 지원하느라 언제나 바쁘거든요. 하지만 자신을 챙기는 것이 제가 사랑하는 사람들의 건강을 지키는 최고의 방법임을 압니다. 우리 커뮤니티를 안전하게 지킵시다. 의사에게 진료를 받기 위해 아플 때까지 기다리지 마세요.
Let's go places safely, Lexington. Kentucky roads can be a dangerous place. Over 24,000 collisions and 700 fatalities occurred last year. The #1 factor in all of these collisions? Not paying attention. I'm Amy from Toyota, reminding you to keep your eyes and your mind on the road.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. Folks, even though this is the last episode of the summer of 2023, because we're moving right into a new season this weekend, that means we still can keep our reoccurring summer segment, but this will be the last time we do it. It's time to take a deep dive into another famous summer blockbuster. And I've been having this segment reoccur over the last several weeks. And it's been really the summer theme of this summer. It's been the recurring segment that we've had over the last couple of weeks in the summer. And, well, last several weeks, really. But what I have done is every week I have covered a major summer blockbuster that just took everybody by storm. It took the box office by storm. It took the people by storm. It was a very successful movie. They call those summer blockbusters. And what I have been doing is each week I've been taking a summer blockbuster from history's past and I do a deep dive into it. And when I say deep dive, I usually cover fun facts, the bio, the plot, the cast, maybe play a few clips. And we've done several movies so far. We've done Jurassic Park, we've done The Sixth Sense, we've done Jaws, we've done The Dark Knight. Last week we did E.T. But folks, this week, it's going to be our last summer blockbuster deep dive. And the movie I have decided to do this week is the movie none other than Forrest Gump. And you might have realized coming into this segment that I was playing a song off of the Forrest Gump soundtrack. And it's a great soundtrack. If you look at all the songs on that soundtrack, it's awesome. It's got a lot of great tunes. Forrest Gump, it's a cult classic. It's a summer blockbuster. If you haven't seen Forrest Gump, what are you doing? You're missing out. It's one of the greatest films in cinema history. And it really blows my mind when people say they haven't seen it. I don't know what you consider a good movie if you don't consider Forrest Gump a good movie. It is an absolutely great movie. Forrest Gump, it premiered on July the 6th, 3 days before Tom Hanks turned 38 years old. So it was a summer movie, and it was a huge summer blockbuster. The box office, it said it grossed worldwide $678 million. And Forrest Gump is a 1994 American epic comedy drama film directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Eric Roth. It is based on the 1986 novel of the same name by Winston Groom and stars Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Gary Sinise, Michaelle T. Williamson, and Sally Field. The film follows several decades in the life of a slow-witted and kind-hearted Alabama man named Forrest Gump and his experience in the 20th century United States. The film differs substantially from the novel. Now, a lot of people don't know that Forrest Gump, before it was a movie, it was a book. And the movie is nothing like the book. In the book, Forrest was like a wrestler. There was more adventures he went on. So it's easy to also say that the movie is better than the book. I've not read the book, so I personally can't say, but you don't ever hear anybody really talking about the book. And very rarely do you hear of a movie outdoing a book. It's always, the book's always better. You always hear people say, oh, you got to read the book. If you like the movie, you got to read the book. Well, with Forrest Gump, you got to watch the movie. Don't worry about the book. The book is secondary according to the movie. But here's some fun info about the movie Forrest Gump. The movie's line, Mama's always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, was voted as the 40th movie quote of all time by the American Film Institute. It's the second highest grossing film of 1994 behind The Lion King. It's the fastest growing Paramount film to pass the $100 million mark, the $150 million mark, and the $200 million mark. It only took 66 days for the film to pass the $250 million mark at the box office. Bill Murray and John Travolta, Chevy Chase, they all turned down the role of Forrest Gump. John Travolta later admitted that passing on the role was a mistake. Bill Paxton was one of Robert Zemeckis' initial first choices for the role of Forrest Gump, but the studio demanded somebody with a little bit more star power and felt like that Bill Paxton really wasn't there yet. And I like Bill Paxton. I think he's a great actor, or he was. He's dead now, but I do like him. But nobody could have played the role like Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks added things to that character that wasn't even in the script. For instance, his accent was never supposed to be that drawn out in the movie, but Tom Hanks made it like that. David Allen Greer, Ice Cube, and Dave Chappelle turned on the role of Bubba. Ice Cube refused to play an idiot, and Dave Chappelle thought the movie would bomb, so he said he didn't want to do it. Boy, was he wrong. Dave Chappelle, he since admitted to deeply regretting not taking the role and would eventually go on to play Tom Hanks' best friend in a different movie, which was You Got Mail, released in 1998. Jodie Foster, Nicole Kidman, and Demi Moore turned down the role of Jenny Tupac Shakur, he also auditioned for the role of Bubba. Haley Joel Osment, you know, the little kid from The Sixth Sense, he also played Forrest's son in the movie. He was cast in the film after the casting director had noticed him in a Pizza Hut commercial. Again, you never know who's listening or who's watching for your next big break. Harry Anderson was Robert Zemeckis' actually first choice for the role of Forrest Gump, but he was unavailable due to his commitment to the CBS series Dave's World. Dave Chappelle, like I said, he declined the role of Bubba, and it went to a man named Michaelle Williamson. Joe Pesci was considered for the role of Lieutenant Dan. In 2007, the American Film Institute ranked this movie as the 76th greatest movie of all time. It's Robert Zemeckis' highest grossing film to date. And Tom Hanks, if we're talking about casting here, Tom Hanks, his brother was actually in the movie. He was Tom Hanks' running double. So Tom, it was nice of him to put his brother in the movie. Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, and Martin Lawrence were also considered for the role of Bubba. So a lot of big star names out there that were considered for the role of different characters. But it's hard to even think anybody playing these roles other than the actors that did, because that's what made the movie so iconic. The guy who played Bubba, the unknown guy who played Bubba, was fantastic. Lieutenant Dan, the guy who played him, he won an Oscar for his role as Lieutenant Dan. Can you imagine anybody else being Lieutenant Dan? All right, here are some fun facts about the great movie Forrest Gump. It says here that the line, "My name is Forrest Gump, people call me Forrest Gump," was ad-libbed by Tom Hanks while filming the scene, and director Robert Zemeckis liked it so much that he decided to keep it. See, it was Tom Hanks who made that character come to life. You put anybody else in the role, it's going to look and sound different. An uncredited Kurt Russell did the voice of Elvis Presley, and you can also see a silhouette of Elvis Presley in the Forrest Gump movie, and that is Kurt Russell, but they never did credit Kurt Russell for that role. And it's funny because Kurt Russell actually played Elvis in a movie that really wasn't as popular as the Austin Butler movie, but Kurt Russell did play Elvis at one point in time. Let's see, some more fun facts about Forrest Gump. Forrest and Dan Shrimp Company, Bubba Gump, is now an actual themed restaurant in 33 locations around the world. I've been to one of those 33 locations, and it's an amazing restaurant. They've got excellent food, and it's really cool because they got all kinds of cool memorabilia of the movie Forrest Gump. They've got the waiters asking you questions and facts about the movie, trying to test your knowledge on it, and it's a lot of fun. And it's amazing to think there's only 33 of those locations, and I've been to one of the 33. Despite playing his mother in the movie Forrest Gump, Sally Field is only 10 years older than Tom Hanks. And you know what's funny about that is they actually played lovers in a movie right before they played mother and son in Forrest Gump. Next to Jenny's bed, there is a card with a yellow smiley face. And if you remember, that has significance because Forrest had earlier been responsible for the smiley face idea. See, the attention to detail in this movie it's what makes this movie so great. You can watch this movie 100 times and you will notice something different every single time. It was originally scripted and shot that young Jenny kills her father by releasing the tractor handbrake so it runs him down in the cornfield. This element was removed as the filmmakers decided audience wouldn't forgive Jenny for such a violent act, no matter how evil her father was. Because if you remember, her father was molesting her. And the deleted scene can actually be seen on the 25th anniversary Blu-ray disc. So if you are wondering what that scene looks like, it's on the deleted scene floor. Let's see some more fun facts about Forrest Gump. It says Jenny's last name, Kieran, is never spoken in the film, although it appears in print on her postal deliveries. So her last name is Jenny Curran. Jenny Curran. This is the first Best Picture Oscar winner to also win Best Visual Effects. And what great visual effects they were. They had President Kennedy in the movie, Lyndon B. Johnson in the movie, they had John Lennon in the movie, and all of these guys are dead. But they still were in the movie Forrest Gump thanks to the special effects done from this movie. This movie, Forrest Gump, Forrest Gump did so well with CGI and including special effects. It was insane. When the film became wildly successful, talk of a sequel naturally arose, especially when Winston Groom wrote a sequel novel called Gump and Company. However, at the time, Tom Hanks refused to work in any sequel. Making the sequel with another actor was not a consideration for anybody. Nobody wanted to make a Forrest Gump 2 without the original Forrest. So Forrest Gump said, I'm not doing a sequel. I don't believe in sequels. I don't like sequels. Tom Hanks said that, not Forrest. So the studio decided to cut it down. But Tom Hanks went on to do Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3. He went to do another Angels and Demons. And he realized that sequels actually can be successful. So he actually went back to the studio and said, you know what? If you want to do another sequel, I'm on board for it. However, the September 11th attacks in 2001 changed the world to the extent that it made the film irrelevant. Despite several attempts to revive the project and the absence of a formal cancellation, the sequel has remained in development hell, they call it, since it's unlikely to be made. So whether or not there's going to be a Forrest Gump 2, it doesn't look very good. But folks, that is a deep dive into the movie Forrest Gump. And I've really enjoyed doing these segments, and I've enjoyed having this reoccurring segment for our theme of summer 2023. We've covered a lot of movies. We've done a lot of deep dives on each one of these, and I hope that you took something from it. But folks, we still have lots more Off the Cuff with Adam Banks coming at you live after these words. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
So the best part of Hip Hop 101, and you are listening to Radio Lex, the voice of the people, WLXU 93.9 FM, LPFM, Lexington.
Let's go places safely, Lexington. Have you been drinking? If so, you probably shouldn't be behind the wheel. Adults metabolize alcohol at the rate of 1 drink per hour. If you've been drinking, your judgment is impaired, whether you realize it or not. It's not the type of drink that gets you drunk, it's the amount of alcohol. Only time will sober you up. Cold showers and coffee don't do the trick. Every 2 minutes, a person is injured in a drunk driving crash. Drunk drivers account for 10% of all fatal crashes during the day and 30% of all fatal crashes at night. Hi, I'm Sue from Toyota, reminding you to find a designated driver if you've been drinking and keep the road safe for everyone.
Are your kids biking, scooting, or walking to school? Talk to them about getting there safely. Scooters and bikes should ride the same direction as traffic, stop at red lights and stop signs, and signal turns. Make sure your kids watch for pedestrians and vehicles. They should always wear a helmet. Walkers should look both ways when crossing and always cross at intersections. More at lexingtonky.gov/safe streets.
It's not always easy to focus on my health. I'm always busy working for my family and supporting my community. But I know taking care of myself is the best way to keep my loved ones healthy. Let's keep our community safe. Don't wait until you're safe to see a doctor. Take care, take action. This message is brought to you by Radio Lex, our community's radio station. Learn more at radiolex.us.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. This is Rock Your Body by Justin Timberlake. This song was written by Pharrell, and he wrote this song with the intention of Michael Jackson to sing it. But Michael turned it down and said the song was not hood enough for him. So instead, it went to Justin Timberlake. But hey, Justin Timberlake did his thing on this song. But one can only help but to think what this song would sound like if Michael Jackson recorded it. All right, let's get to Off the Cuff's quote of the week. And this week, the quote comes from a man named Epictetus. Epictetus was a Greek Stoic philosopher, and he taught that philosophy is a way of life and not simply a theatrical discipline. Theoretical. I cannot say that word really fast. Theoretical. He taught that philosophy is a way of life and not simply a theoretical discipline. There we go. So one of those old guys, one of those old Greek philosophers who really just had all the wisdom in the world. And this week, our quote comes from him. And what's interesting about this quote this week, folks, is I would have never thought that this quote would have been Off the Cuff's most liked photo of all time in the history of Off the Cuff, but it was, because I post these quotes on Facebook in a photo. And this certain picture that I posted with this quote on there was the most liked photo on the Off the Cuff Facebook page in the history of this program. So this week's quote of the week is, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And what I like about that quote is there are going to be so many things that happen to you in this lifetime that you're not going to like. And it's going to really get you down, and it's going to really upset you. But how you react to what happens to you is really all that matters. The same thing can happen to 3 different people, and those 3 different people could react to it 3 different ways, which means those 3 different people are going to have 3 different outcomes. One person might react to the point to where let's say somebody irritates them, or somebody says something that really gets under their skin, and they react to it by lashing back out. And because of that, it causes a friendship to end or a relationship to end. And then the other person, instead of reacting to it by screaming and being volatile back, they react to it a completely different way. They might do a 24-hour rule, and they don't respond for 24 hours, and they come back to the situation when their mind is more clear and they've let their temper slow down. That person's going to have a different outcome than the person that lashed out. So anything can happen to anybody, and the same thing can happen to 5 different people, but your reaction at the end of the day is all that matters. It's not the fact that something happened to you that really matters. It's how you react to it, because that's ultimately going to be what matters, because something's going to happen based off how you react. So if you get down on something, it's your choice that you got down on it. If you get mad about something, that's your choice to get mad over. You can take whatever happens to you and react to it any way you want to. Happy, sad, you can react with violence, you can react with peace, you can react with prayer. It doesn't matter how you react, but it actually does matter how you react, because how you react is going to be what is going to end up happening to you in the future. It's going to really mess up your future in some way, good or bad. So it doesn't matter what happens to you, but how you react to it is what matters. And that, folks, is Off the Cuff's quote of the week. But folks, what I want to do now is something that a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're late to the party on this." Well, as Waka Flocka said, it is a party. So let's talk about the UK football season. I have yet to talk about it this season, and I usually come on Off the Cuff and I give a preview of the Kentucky football season, and I have yet to do that. So I am going to give the audience a belated preview to the UK football season, and the reason that I am doing it now is because now is when it matters, because the first 3 games of Kentucky football was cupcakes. If Kentucky, as everybody says, is a football school, we need to eliminate the cupcake games. And a lot of people will say, "Well, Adam, that would be silly. We're in the SEC. Why would we want to schedule more hard games when our conference is already hard?" Well, we're a football school, right? We're a football school, right? football schools play hard teams. And the more difficult your schedule is, the more likely it is a possibility for you to go to the playoffs if you win those hard games, because you're just going to be seeded better. And it is better for the team to play harder teams than easier ones. And as a football school, we need to play those hard teams. But the Kentucky football season has officially started with 3 easy wins out of the way. They defeated Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, and Akron. Yes, you heard that right. Ball State, Eastern Kentucky University, and Akron, they won like they were supposed to do. So the Cats are 3-0. But I feel like the season officially begins this Saturday because SEC play is in full swing. They play Vanderbilt, and it's a noon game. I don't like noon games. I don't think Kentucky plays well at noon. I don't think the excitement level is there for noon like it is a night game. So, unfortunately, if you've been bored the first 3 games of Kentucky football, the Vanderbilt might put a little bit more pep in your step because it is an SEC opponent, but it's not going to put much pep in the step because it's a noon game. It's hard to get excited for a noon football game. That's really early, especially if you're going to the game. How early do you got to wake up and go do your activities? Go park, go eat, go get your seat. If the game starts at 12, you're going to be doing all of this really early. Alcohol, yes, alcohol is now available at Kroger Field. There's already been a fight broke loose because somebody cut line in the alcohol line. That's the first of many, I'm here to tell you. I'm not going to harp on that because there will be plenty more alcohol stories, I'm sure, to tell as the season progresses. But what I want to do is I would like to give the audience my belated preview to the Kentucky football season. I'm going to tell you the games I think they're going to win and lose. Now listen, I know they've already won the first 3 games. Even if I would have come and done this 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would have had them winning the first 3 games. So really, we're not missing out on anything. Really what matters is the games going forward. So, Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, I would have said they would have won that regardless. They should win that. Those are 3 extremely easy opponents. Now, the next game, Vanderbilt this Saturday, I think that's going to be a win. Vanderbilt is not a football school. Vanderbilt is not a team that we usually have trouble against. Being a noon game, I think being the first SEC opponent at at Vanderbilt, it's going to really make people excited. And I think the Cats are going to do well on the road on their first game. They're going to lose to Florida on September the 30th. Florida is a lot better than what people are giving them credit for right now. They're going to lose to Georgia on October the 7th because Georgia has a better coach and better players. You put that in a math problem, that makes it common sense. Missouri, they're going to win that game in Missouri, or against Missouri at Kroger Field on October the 14th. They will lose to Tennessee on October 28th. They will lose to Mississippi State on November 4th because it's at Mississippi State. We usually go back and forth trading wins and losses with Mississippi State, but this year it's Mississippi State's season to win. We'll lose against Alabama. I'll talk more on that when I have more time to talk about it. I don't think Kentucky is going to beat Alabama this year. Maybe after Saban leaves. Now, if Stoops does get the win over Saban, does that make Mark Stoops a better coach than Saban? Stop it. No. But we don't have to worry about that. Or we don't have to worry about having that conversation because they're not going to beat Alabama. They're going to lose against South Carolina, and they will defeat Louisville at the end of the season. That puts them at 6 wins, which I don't feel like is acceptable for the salary that Mark Stoops gets paid, or I don't think 6 wins is acceptable anymore at this point in Mark Stoops' tenure. He's past the rebuilding stage of his tenure. He can't use that excuse anymore. We are rebuilding. I'm new here. This is your 11th season. To be paid what you're being paid, you need more than 6 wins. You need 8 or 9 or 10 wins every single season. 6 wins at this point, not acceptable. 11th season, remember that. Mark Stoops' record so far within his 10 seasons at Kentucky is, well, this is also including his 3 games that he's played in his 11th season. He's 69-59 overall, and he is 32-50 in the SEC conference. But folks, that is a belated preview to the UK football season. But folks, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to introduce the band Vinyl Richie. So folks, stick with us. We'll be right back after these words.
It's not always easy to focus on my health. I'm always busy working for my family and supporting my community. But I know taking care of myself is the best way to keep my loved ones healthy. Let's keep our community safe. Don't wait until you're sick to see a doctor. Take care, take action. This message is brought to you by Radio Lex, our community's radio station. Learn more at radiolex.us.
Let's go places safely, Lexington. I'm Sue from Toyota, reminding you to travel safely and share the road. Leave a 2-second distance between the front of your car and the rear bumper of the vehicle ahead of you. Use your turn signals to indicate what you are doing on the road. Make eye contact with other drivers at intersections to avoid confusion and crashes. Stay right, except when passing, and yield to drivers merging into your lane. Together, car and truck drivers can make our roads safer for everyone.
Hit it. This ain't no disco. And it ain't no country club neither. This is the Perros. All I wanna do is have a little fun before I die.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you, last segment of the hour. Folks, let me introduce you to Vinyl Richie. They are an 8-piece rock and roll machine from Lexington, Kentucky, complete with a 4-piece horn section. They cover everything from the Beatles to Bruno Mars. No genre left untouched. They started as a 3-piece 10 years ago, playing punk versions of vinyl-era pop classics. The members include Brian Spangler on vocals, rhythm, guitar, Michaelle Perros, vocals and baritone sax, Mike Kirilenko, lead guitar, Jacob O'Donnell, tenor sax and flute, Ryan Bean, trombones and synth, Kirby Davis on alto, sax and keys, Danny Cecil on the bass, and Zach Spangler on the drums. This is one of their covers right here. Now, we're going to talk to the band after we take Off the Cuff's Song of the Week break. So let's have a little Vinyl Richie for Off the Cuff Song of the Week break. This is their cover of Sweet Child of Mine. And when we come back, we will have the band live in studio. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything was expressed as a bright blue sky. Now and then when I run out it takes me away to that special place.
Sit here in the corner. Mom's been here. I'm gonna take pictures. There you go, guys. You know the deal. If you want to use headphones, you can. If not, that's fine too.
If you want to use headphones, test your audio. The audio is, you each have like knobs, and that adjusts your volume. I adjust the sound of the mic so you won't hear it right now because we're not on the air. But you can just play around with the knobs if you want the headphones.
Hey guys, look at me real quick and I'll get you a picture. A microphone in the room. There we go.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for coming. Yes. This mic is aggravating me to death. Somebody, I don't know what they were doing, but they like broke it. I don't understand. It's like, I went to like, honestly, that's what I was asking. I was like, what are people doing? Just like ripping the mic off the thing? I'll have to mention it to Mark to fix it. Yes. It's a little bit of a delay. You'll pop up in a minute. There you are.
Oh, I've got that mirror thing going on. I'm going to get out of the way. I never can figure out where I am. I can never do the weather. You know how they always have to point to that thing if they're looking at something? It would be a no for me.
So we got 3 in studio. I was thinking there was going to be 7, right? Oh, okay.
Actually, we have 8 in the band right now.
Right. I, for some reason, I thought you said 7, and I was like, we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
We have to share chairs.
Yeah, sit in laughs. I mean, we'll make it work. But thank you guys for coming in and stuff. No problem,
Appreciate
man.
the exposure and everything.
Oh, anytime, man. And I've been listening to some of your all's tunes. It's awesome.
I know, they do such a good job.
Yes.
They're so funny.
And I love cover bands, too. Just because, one, you know all the songs.
Yeah.
And you can sing along. You sing from different decades, and it's really cool.
Are you going to be able to come out Saturday?
I'm going to, there's no reason why I shouldn't be. The only thing that might get in my way is my sister is due any day with her baby.
Okay, priorities. Music first, then your sister.
Yes,
She
so,
holds off, come on down.
yeah, I mean, it is really any day. Like, everybody's on standby, so it could happen today, tomorrow, Saturday.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'll put you on the guest list, so I'm excited you can come.
Well, dude, that's awesome. I feel VIP now. So basically, I'm just going to ask just questions, just kind of off the cuffy. And Renee, you want to join or anything you
I'll
want to do?
just pitch in wherever.
Okay.
They were just on over his house last week, too. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's a great show to be on. Yeah. Great show. We love just sharing guests because we have 2 different audiences and just more exposure.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go on the air in about 15 seconds. And who are the 3 that I have in studio right now?
Ryon, Jacob, and Kirby.
Okay. Ryon, Jacob, and Kirby. You gotta love cover bands, and I was telling the band before they came on, I think everybody likes cover bands because everybody knows the songs, and it doesn't matter what generation you come from, what decade that you grow up in, there's going to be music from that time that you can sing along with. But folks, I have 3 of the 8 band members in here with me. I have Jacob, Brian, and Kirby. Yes, Brian, Jacob, and Kirby. They're all here. And folks, thank you so much for being here. Just tell me, what's the origin story of Vinyl Richie? How did you all become what you are today?
There was a toxic waste spill. So 10 years ago, back up before that, I had been in original bands for years when I was younger. And about 10 years ago, decided I wanted to start a band. So I didn't want to do the original thing again. I wanted to do something different. So thought, I'm going to do a cover band. And we started as a 3-piece band. Sean Bowie was one of the founding members, me and another guy. And we wanted to do punk rock versions of vinyl era songs. So we're a 3-piece, stripped down punk rock band playing covers of Bryan Adams and Hot Stuff by Donna Summer and all that cool stuff. So we just grown since then over the years, just added members, so now we're 8-piece.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And there's a lot of cover bands out there. So what makes you guys different from the other cover bands?
Well, the size of our band for one, 8 people. So I think one thing that kind of makes us a little bit different is this band is rooted, the foundation's like a punk rock band, a garage band. And we've added so many members over the years that are very, very talented, trained musicians like, Jacob and Kirby. They're part of our 4-piece horn section that we have. We have synth and everything else. So you got a foundation of like a garage rock band, but you have all this talent layered on top of it. And we kind of balance each other out in that respect. And when we cover songs, we really dig into these songs and try to make them our own. We take a lot of liberties and just try to take ownership of the music.
Now, no genre of music goes untouched with you guys. So what is your favorite genre to perform?
Personally, I love the 80s stuff we're doing, which I actually just joined the band. I'm Kirby, by the way. I joined the band earlier this year playing mostly keyboards, but also horns, depends on what gig it is. I'll play more than one than the other. But the 80s music, playing the synths for that, It's my favorite.
So you mentioned that 80s music is one of your favorites. So what is it about that decade of music that you feel like is so special?
To me, it's the creativity with the, I guess a lot of technology was developing at that time, and people were using different sounds, different guitar pedals, synthesizers, different drum sounds, and, you know, lyrics can be basic song lyrics, or they can be really bizarre songs. Music videos are really strange sometimes. Basically, it can get weird sometimes. Even if it's a basic song, like, it could be a love song, but it could be really bizarre.
Right, it's out there. Yeah, and the bizarreness of 80s music is kind of what makes it cool. Now, I noticed that you said you were new, Kirby, into the band, and all three of you guys, you seem to have chemistry. So do you hang out outside of just performing music?
Every now and then we do. A lot of times when we're together, it is music-based, either rehearsal or shows. But we had the Vinyl Richie cookout / pool party about a month ago or so, and that's one thing about this band. I feel like 8 people, we really like each other, and it's kind of like a family, and we all get along. I've been in 3-piece bands where people don't get along, so it's really something special.
Absolutely. Now, do you guys consider, or are you considering making an album or a music video anytime soon? Because I know that a lot of you guys right now, you just do live performances. Do you have any albums in the future planned, or is that something that you maybe one day want to do?
Well, actually, several of us are in another side project where we actually do write original music. We have a whole album's worth of material that it's kind of just sitting on the shelf because that band doesn't really do anything anymore. So Michaelle, she's the other front person of the band, and Barry, sax player. We've talked about maybe bringing some original music to Vinyl Richie. This is news to these two. Eventually, when we have time, and who knows, maybe we could do an album because we definitely have the personnel and the passion to do it.
So let's talk about this upcoming show that you've got. It's the 80s versus 90s Battle of the Decade show at the Burl this Saturday on September the 23rd. You guys, last time you performed at the Burl, you sold it out. You packed it out. What is it about you all you think that makes people want to come and see you? And just talk about that event. What can we expect if we all show up to that event?
So, I don't know. I think something with Vinyl Richie resonates with people. We were kind of surprised when we sold out the Burl for the last 80s versus 90s show. We kind of teed it up with an 80s show a couple years ago, then a 90s show. And it went over very well. But I think when Vinyl Richie takes the stage, there's a lot of energy and passion going on, and we really own the music. You're never going to come to a Vinyl Richie show and A, you're not going to be bored. B, we're not reading off iPads, and some bands do that, and that's fine. But everything is up in here, and I'm pointing at my head with Vinyl Richie. So you're going to get us full steam, full energy, warts and all. We make mistakes on stage, but we're going to give everything we have on the stage. So when you come see us, to me it's like a real rock and roll show. It's big band, lots of instruments going on, and also where we kind of tinker with the songs, and it's a little something new, it's a little something old, and you're getting the live experience with us.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's 2 great decades of music. I mean,
yes,
people are kind of either I'm an 80s person or a 90s person, and I think just that battle between the two, people are going to come and choose their decade, but I think a lot of people like both decades when it comes down to it.
I fought really hard for what the pre-show before this show was going to be. Like, what do I want my audience listening to before I come on? And I finally got what I wanted. It's a 90s show. So it's basically just 90s music for a whole hour, because I feel like that's just the type of people that listen to me as people from the 90s, because I'm always talking about nostalgia in the 90s, and I love the 90s. So you guys are right up my alley. Now, I don't know if you're keeping this a surprise or not, but can you talk about maybe some of the songs that you're going to be singing at the Burl?
Jacob, he's never short for words, but he is today.
He's being voluntold.
So we might throw out some Iron Maiden. What's that? Simple Minds, Motley Crue. What else, Kirby? Jacob?
Don Henley.
Yes.
Tears for Fears.
Misfits.
Yes. that is so cool. So now, are you, Brian, mostly the one are you the lead singer on most songs?
I used to be the lead singer, but ever since we got girl Michael in the band, she made the mistake of singing one song. Like, whoa, you can actually sing. That's great. So I would say between what girl Michael and I sing is probably about 60-40 or so. And we have other musicians that sing. Like Jacob sings a song now. Ryon being our trombone synth player, he sings a few songs. Mike Kirilenko, our lead guitarist, has a few. So we really try to split it up and give, I mean, people don't want to hear me for 3 hours, that's for sure. So we really try to split it up and give everybody a chance to get on the mic.
Well, just a couple more questions here, because I know that rock stars are always busy and you got more places to go and be. But what is the ultimate goal for Vinyl Richie? Where do you want to see yourself just within the next 12 months, 2-3 years? Like, where do you want to ultimately end up?
World domination.
He finally spoke up to say world domination, and I appreciate that. So, yes, I mean, you're wanting to obviously go on, keep performing. Now, do you want to write original songs, or do you just like to stick to the cover band label?
I would like to test the original waters here before too long, but really, like, I want to get in front of bigger audiences, have bigger shows, you know, like this 80s versus 90s at the Burl. A lot of cover bands don't really get that opportunity around here.
Right.
So getting the Burl opportunity is phenomenal, but you know, we'd like to play big events and just take our concept of 80s versus 90s and our regular shows to different cities, you know, within a few hours and get in front of different people.
Now, the event this Saturday at the Burl.
Yes.
Can you tell everybody when the doors open and how they get their tickets to get in?
Yeah, so tickets on sale now at theburlky.com, or you can get tickets at the door. Gates are 6:30, showtime's 7:30 sharp. So choose 80s or 90s, dress the part.
Yeah, dress the part.
Yeah.
Now, tell listeners how they can find more information about Vinyl Richie, social media, website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we're on Facebook. Just search for Vinyl Richie on Facebook. We should pop up there. Also on Instagram, and we have a YouTube page.
All right, awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being here and joining me. I'm going to end the show with another song of yours. I started the show playing a little All I Want to Do, and that was your female lead singer. Yeah. Yes, and we secondly had Sweet Child of Mine by Brian, the former lead singer, not so much no more, but he still is kind of the lead singer. And now we'll end the show with Semi Charmed. Now, who's going to be performing this one?
Yeah, that's Mike Kirilenko. So it's always a negotiation when we get songs on the set list.
Yes.
That was his song. Probably wasn't mine.
Okay.
He does a great job on it, though.
Well, I can't wait for the audience to hear it. And again, I want to thank you guys for being on the show. If you want to go see this band, you got to go to the Burl this weekend. It's going to be awesome. Folks, thank you for listening to Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. Thank you, Vinyl Richie, for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Banks. This is Off the Cuff. You can follow Off the Cuff on social media at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. We release new episodes every Thursday from 4 to 5, which means we will be back same time, same place, right here on Off the Cuff. WLXU 93.9. I'm Adam Banks, and this is Off the Cuff. We'll catch you down the road.
Thank you. That was fun.
Amen. Thank you so much for it.
Great interview. Great job, guys. Do you want me to get Cheryl's picture together?
Sure, yes, that'd be great.